Well, hello everybody, this is Dr. Corey King from AskDrKing.com. My clinic is located in Lafayette, Colorado, which is just north of Denver and a little east of Boulder. And I specialize in working with patients who are struggling with autoimmune conditions, especially thyroid patients. My wife, Natasha, has Hashimoto's disease, do a lot with mold toxicity, see a ton of Epstein Barr Virus and other chronic viral patients, along with Lyme disease. And the technology that I'm talking about today is something that we've been using personally for many, many years. I've used it for cancer patients back in California when I used to strictly just work with cancer patients. And it is called Rife Technology, R-I-F-E. And there is a great book called The Cancer Cure, 50 Years of Suppression. You can get it on Amazon. It's a very thin book. It's very easy reading, but it dives into the science and the scientist Royal Rife that developed it in Southern California in the 20s and the 30s, and they were using it strictly back then on cancer patients. They had phenomenal results with cancer patients in the 20s and the 30s until certain people came in. They didn't like them using the machines. They were threatening the doctors with basically yanking their licenses, and a lot of the technology disappeared, a lot of the research disappeared, and the doctors just stopped using the technology. So that's what you'll actually learn in the book, along with the science and what Rife Technology helps with. Fantastic read. I used to give it to every patient that we would do Rife Technology with. So fast forward to today, we can get these machines again, and there's several companies that are out there making them. And the company that I have used for roughly 10 years is called True Rife, and it's truerife.com. I'll put a link down below so you can check out their website. It's nothing special, it's just where you order the technology from. But the reason I like this company is because, one, it works, and I'm going to talk about that here in a moment. But two, we can update the software every single week. So Rife Technology, this is a light frequency generator. So what it's doing is it is emitting a frequency, and we use a bulb called a hammer bulb, and there's a couple other bulbs that you can use as well, but I prefer the hammer bulb for several reasons. But it emits this light frequency, and everything in our body resonates at a certain frequency, even bad guys, invaders, pathogens, bacteriums, viruses. Well, we can use the frequencies that match those different infections, and we can actually help to kill off those infections. So this is the same thing that we did for our cancer patients. I do this now with our virus. So if it's like Epstein Barr Virus, or right now, think COVID-19, there are frequencies for the human coronavirus that are getting updated weekly, which is one reason I love this company, is because we can update these frequencies anytime these scientists that are trying to figure out what these frequencies are, anytime they figure out a new frequency, a better frequency, a more powerful frequency, we can update it. And so they send out an email to us and say, hey, update your frequencies. So that's one of the reasons I love using the True Rife machine. So recently we were approached by a different Rife Technology manufacturer, and their machine looks really, really cool. It's like comparing an iPhone to a flip phone. Our machines may not look the coolest, but they work, where this machine looks really cool, but you can't update the frequencies, and the price is double what we have to pay for our Rife Technology. So I'm sticking with our tried and true machine. Now, I use this on every single Lyme patient. One of the frequencies that my Lyme patients run is 7 hours and 45 minutes right now. What that means is they're running that frequency at night when they're sleeping, versus going into a doctor's office daily and running that, sitting there for 7.5, 8 hours. So we're running this frequency at night. We have the ability to then, go and test and see how their infections are doing. Maybe the Babesia or the Bartonella has been killed off, but maybe we're still dealing with Borrelia. So then we can even isolate Borrelia with the machine and say, let's just target Borrelia right now. Or if we're working on Epstein Barr Virus at the same time we're killing off Lyme, we can be running multiple frequencies for these patients. The really cool thing about this machine is there are thousands of frequencies that you could choose from. So anything you can imagine, any type of health condition, there's going to be a frequency, I guarantee you, in the software that you can use to help fight off this infection or improve X, Y, and Z health condition. One of my Lyme patients that we're using this machine on, his grandfather had macular degeneration. If you know about that, it's not really good. The outcome isn't going to be poor. There's not much that can be done. And his grandfather started running the Rife a couple days a week, and all of a sudden his vision started getting better. And There's stories with Rife Technology that would just blow your mind, especially when it comes to things like tumors, but we're not going to go into that rabbit hole. We're just going to talk about mainly about Lyme and Epstein Barr virus. So how do we know it works? Well, we base it off of how a patient feels. And we can also go back and check labs because I'm a lab geek. I like looking at data. But when I have a Lyme patient that comes to me and they're like, Doc, I was treated for Lyme 10 years ago. And I've got a patient just like this. It was a little over 10 years ago. She was on IV antibiotics for 6 months. She came to me roughly in October of last year. And she couldn't get out of bed. She's a mother, has 2 children, husband, couldn't get out of bed, wasn't functioning. So we started using the Rife technology on her. And guess what? It started kicking her butt. And what I mean by that is it started causing die-off. And when you're killing off infections such as Lyme, which is notorious for causing a Herx reaction, or AKA die-off, or candida, when you start killing that off, you can feel that die-off, or you could have a Herx reaction. I look at that as a good thing because we're like, great. You have some infections that are still in your body. This machine is starting to kill them, and you can tell it's killing them by the way that you feel. So then we teach patients how to decrease that Herx reaction or decrease the die-off. But on my Lyme patients, it's mind-boggling to me. It's each time we get a new Lyme patient that starts using this technology, within the first week, they're going to reach out and be like, hey, doc, this thing it's working because it's kicking my butt. They can feel it. So when I say it works, these patients that have struggled with Lyme disease for many years that weren't getting the help, that are now, this gal, I talked to her today. We speak every Tuesday. I'm now working with her husband and her 2 children. One of her children does have Lyme disease as well, and her sister has Lyme, who I'm now working with her sister and her 2 children. I talked to her today. She looks great because we do our telemedicine appointment, so I get to see what she looks like. Even though she's in California and we're here in Colorado, she is doing very, very well. She's functioning. She's grocery shopping. Her mother has to get dialysis 3 times a week, so she has to take her mother to the dialysis clinic. She's picking her mom up from the wheelchair, moving her around, taking care of her mom at home, where when we first spoke back around October, she just was in bed. She couldn't function. Her sister was taking care of the mom, and now she's taking care of her mom because she's physically able to do this now. So when a patient goes from 10 plus years of having Lyme disease, they were on the liquid IV antibiotics, did a lot of treatments back then, but it didn't fully knock it out, to where she is now functioning, doing great. And this was one of the tools that we first used with her, and then we expanded some of the technology. Now we have her doing ozone at home, which if you haven't watched that video, I'll put a little link above, and you can watch and learn more about ozone therapy at home. So she's incorporating several different types of technology to help fight off these infections because she had Lyme and she had Epstein Barr virus. So when it comes to technology, I'm a huge fan of it as long as it works. And there's a lot of technology out there that, let's be honest, it's just a gimmick, it's a sales, and it doesn't do what they say that it does. And this is where tried and true machines such as this Rife machine that we've been using for roughly 10 years, I have seen it work. And now we predominantly only use it with our Lyme and even our Epstein Barr virus patients. My wife and I have our own machine. We run it a ton for just various different conditions. Recently, I had a ringworm infection on my arm. Guess what? There's a ringworm frequency. I was running it, and it helped to knock out that ringworm infection. So very cool technology. It's just something I wanted to share with you because if you're struggling with, say, Lyme disease or a chronic viral infection and you've plateaued and you're trying to get to that next level, start diving into some of the technology that we're shooting these videos on, because by combining the technology, looking at things such as genetic mutations, looking at a really in-depth blood panel, looking at nutritional deficiencies, you can take those answers and take this technology and really take your health to the next level. So if you have any questions, feel free to either comment below, shoot me a private email. It's drking at AskDrKing.com. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. If you're wanting to get into some of this technology, I'll help you with that as well. When you go to True Rife's website, you don't need all of those things that you see on there. There's a lot of bells and whistles. I don't get all of those bells and whistles for my patients. And even for our personal machine, I've I've got it stripped down to just the bare minimum. What do we need in order to accomplish X, Y, and Z? Bells and whistles are cool, and if you want all that stuff, great. But if you're just like, Doc, tell me exactly what I need, bare minimum, to get the job done, and then maybe I'll get some of those cool bells and whistles down the road, I'll tell you how to do that. Okay, so any questions, feel free to reach out. Look forward to seeing you on the next video.